This video is all about Sony's upcoming FX30, an APS-C version of the FX3. The FX30 has a similar design and capabilities to the FX3. We've got the release date and some more specs. But first, I encourage you to subscribe and choose all notifications so you're kept informed on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. According to Sony Alpha Rumors, the Sony FX30 is due out on September the 30th. Notice the slight uncertainty in the post? Date varies depending on time zone. Stay tuned. And the reason for this is Sony Alpha Rumors at this point doesn't know where the announcement's going to take place. Could it be in Japan? Could it be in New York City? Could it be somewhere in the United Kingdom or even Europe? And that really has an impact. When we look at time zones and times, it could happen on September the 30th. But if that happens at, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's New York time, well, that would push it onto October the 1st in Japan. So at this point, they're not sure. And yeah, I'm not going to get into all that time zone stuff because it just gives me a headache. So let's take a look at the specs that we have thanks to Sony Alpha Rumors. And notice the word similar here. Not the exact same as the FX3, but similar. So are we going to get the exact same video resolutions, frame rates, and codecs? Or might we get something a little extra? Or might the Sony Cripple Hammer come in and say, you know what, you're an APS-C censored camera, we're not going to give you the same. Now, we don't know. We do know that it's going to come with 4K up to 120 frames per second. So that's 4K, 24, 25, and 30. All the basic frame rates, as well as slow motion rates, generally considered to be 50 and 60 frames per second. But if you're Tony Northrup, well, you love to shoot at 4K 60. And to be honest, I'd love to shoot at 4K 60 too, but I shoot all eye, and 4K 30 is already at 470 megabits per second. I can't afford the storage to start shooting in 4K 60, but I'd certainly love to. So anyhow, back to the frame rate. So 50 and 60 frames per second, as well as 100 and 120 frames per second. But whether it's going to do oversample 4K, we don't know. Whether it's going to do 6K, we don't know. But we do know the sensor size, and this is a bit of a surprise for many of us. 26 megapixels, not 12 as was originally rumored, but 26 megapixels. So this kind of has me wondering, are they going to increase the oversampling within this camera? I really don't know, but this is a video camera. This is not a stills hybrid camera. So if you're not going to just focus on 4K like the Sony a7S III, why give us 26 megapixels? And what that would tell me is we're going to see some higher resolutions and frame rates. Well, at least higher resolutions. But again, this is very important here. I know we're getting excited about this, but this is a rumor. And even Sony Alpha Rumors will tell you that until we actually get an announcement, anything can happen, including the date getting pushed or changed, or even the time. And we don't even know the location at this point. But a 26 megapixel sensor capable of producing at least 4K up to 120 frames per second, but we don't know anything else. Now, as far as the design goes, it's going to have the exact same design as the Sony FX3. Interesting, same ports, same design, same ergonomics, everything as the FX3. The main focus here is what's going to differentiate between these two cameras is the sensor. And what the sensor does is that changes the overall look and feel. And yes, you can simulate the same depth of field as you could between a full frame and a Super 35, or in this case, a crop sensor, but that APS-C with a 1.5 times crop is right up there with a Super 35 look, and it's going to give you a different look and feel. It's going to perform differently. And if you're really familiar with video, that APS-C in the FX30 isn't necessarily going to be less capable than the FX3, but it's going to be very powerful, giving us a different look. And I think it's going to do very, very well, at least as well as the FX30. And in terms of pricing, well, I suspect that it's going to cost less. I don't know where, because at this point we don't have a price, but generally when it comes to Sony, APS-C censored cameras do cost less. I don't know. This might seem very appealing to me. I've always been in the camp of stills hybrid cameras. I prefer them. But the FX30, an APS-C censored camera that can at least do 4K, let alone oversample 4K, and perform and give a similar look to a Super 35. Yeah, Sony, you've got my attention. And today being, what is it, the 17th? Yep, the 17th. We're 12 to 14 days away from a possible announcement. So I'm really keenly interested in seeing what the final specifications are going to be for the FX30, the price, where it's going to be announced, and at what time. And of course, if you stay tuned, I'll provide you with the latest updates on that. So what do you think? Does this FX30 appeal to you? Do you have the FX3, the FX6, or the FX9? What about a Sony Alpha 1 Stop the FOMO? Or maybe another Sony camera. What do you think about this FX30? I really like the idea of these lower end cinema cameras. They're not as big and bulky. They can still function as a stills camera as well. I don't know, I'm really interested in this. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the FX30 and what the specs are gonna be. And did I just refer to this camera as the FX3 a little while ago? Sometimes I do that. I know I got the intro right. But now I want to talk to you about something else, sensor cleaning. There's nothing worse than getting out there, shooting, coming back, and realizing that you've got spots. Generally, if you're taking stills, they're pretty easy to fix. But in video, when you need to fix stills, it's frustrating. 1 second can have at least 30 frames. And if you're shooting high speed, that's 120 frames. And that's why sensor cleaning is very important. I want to talk to you about several things. One is what you can do to prevent getting spots or dust on your sensor. Number two, how to clean it without actually touching the sensor. And for those stubborn pieces of dust and dirt or grime, oil, whatever it happens to be, how to actually clean the sensor without actually damaging it, how to do it properly. And you know what? I'm actually not going to do that in this video here because I can just see through the window. The sun is out. It was supposed to be raining all day. The rain has now been pushed to 2 o'clock. I can see the sun and I want to get outside and enjoy the weather and I want to use my camera for fun. So here's what I'm going to do. Later today, I'm going to do a live stream and I'm going to cover off sensor cleaning. I'm going to use one of my cameras as an example and talk to you about that because it's very, very important. And I'll also cover off lens cleaning as well. I almost stumbled there. Lens cleaning is just as important as sensor cleaning because when you get back into post, if you see a spot, it doesn't matter whether it's related to dust on the sensor or you've got dirt, grime, or something else on the lens. It needs to be cleaned and kept clean. So nothing worse than, especially those one-off, once-in-a-lifetime shots, especially if it's video and you've got sensor dust. And I've had a few of those, and you know what? Sometimes I just threw it out, and other times I just sucked it up and said, oh, right, you know what? I'm going to put it in there anyways. So when is the live stream going to come out? Well, it could come out as little as 15 minutes after this video is published, or maybe an hour and 15 minutes, or maybe 5 hours. It really depends on what the weather's going to be like. And my wife told me I need to cook my famous chili today, so I need to do that as well. But since the live stream is going to be done in my upstairs studio, which is just not far from the kitchen, I'm thinking I can do both at the same time. That's it for now. If you want to stay up to date on the latest camera news and rumors, go ahead and click subscribe, but also please make sure you choose all notifications. That way, as soon as I publish a new video like this one here or do a live stream, YouTube will send you a notification. So that way you can stay up to date on the latest camera news and rumors. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.